Let's talk about tissues. Tissues are groups of cells that are pretty similar in their structure, but they have all kind of a common job. Now, let's talk about tissue types. We know that the human body is pretty complex. There's all kinds of organs. And so all of these organs are made up of different kinds of tissues. So the 4 tissue types that we'll look at starts off with nervous tissue. Now, nervous tissue, as you know, is pretty much our most internal communication system. If you lose the nerves, things don't work. That includes our brain, spinal cord, nerves. These are all organs that contain nervous tissue. Now, muscle tissue is a type of tissue that is specifically designed to contract or cause movement. Muscles that attach to skeleton are skeletal muscle tissues. There's cardiac muscle tissues, and of course there's the smooth muscle tissue. Smooth muscle tissue is found in a lot of our vessels. Now, epithelial tissue is kind of that like skin, that barrier around some of our soft organs. Lining the digestive tract on the outside, the inside, our skin on our surface. Connective tissue pretty much does that. It connects the body together. This would be things such as like, our bones, our tendons, any sort of our soft connective tissues. So let's go ahead and take a look at epithelial tissue next. Epithelial tissue has pretty much 5 main functions, 5 main jobs. The most obvious one is protection. There's always absorption, filtration, like in our GI tract, excretion, secretion, and of course sensory reception. So the cells of our epithelial tissue are kind of designed for a couple ways. Simple squamous epithelial tissue means that it's a simple means single layer. Squamous means flat. So these are very thin cells. They usually are used in absorption, secretion, filtration. Now, simple cuboidal means that there's a single layer of these, and cuboidal means that they're kind of cube-shaped, right? So what are these things are used for? These are generally going to be used in places where there's secretion or absorption as well. And they often are found in ducts, a lot of our glands, for example. Now, simple columnar epithelium is a type of tissue that has long column type cells. Again, simple meaning it's a single layer, but they're tall and column-like. Where do we find these? Areas where there's going to be absorption, secretion as well. Now, connective tissue gets a little complicated. There's a lot of them, a lot of different kinds. So these are the most abundant because they connect the body together. Now, the 4 main classes of connective tissue is, of course, connective tissue proper, as we call it, the most common type. And within this, we have a variety of types. And we're going to take a look at those right now. There is bone. Bone is a type of connective tissue. It connects the body, of course. Cartilage is a type of, well, in a way, it's a connective tissue that's kind of like a bone. It's really associated with bones, all of our cartilages. Very tough. Now, blood is something that people don't think of, but if you think about it really, it connects the entire body. The entire body is connected through our bloodstream. So, what are some of the functions? Let's take a look at some of those. So we got a stapler, we've got a binder, we've got a hamburger, we've got a bus. What's going on? So, binding, support, protection, insulation, a storage reserved for fuel, and transporting substances. These are all things that connective tissues do. So let's talk about connective tissue proper. What are the 2 types of connective tissue proper? Well, there's loose connective tissue, certainly. Now, the types of loose connective tissue, 3 types. What's called aurelier is usually found wherever there's epithelium. They kind of hold the epithelium to the rest of the body. There's reticular fibers, and reticular fibers are kind of spongy in a lot of ways. And then, of course, adipose is a type of loose connective tissue, and this is pretty much a lot of our fats and a lot of our storage of energy. So, continuing on the other types of connective tissue, we said there's 2. Here's the second type, dense connective tissue. Dense connective tissue, again, 3 types. There's dense regular. Now, the regular means that it's pretty regular in its arrangement. And then there's dense irregular, which means that the arrangement of the fibers is not haphazard, but is going different directions. It's pretty much going in different directions, not in the regular form. Now, elastic is very flexible. So those are the two major types. Let's talk about cartilage. Cartilage, 3 types of cartilage. Again, 3 types. Hyaline cartilage is pretty common, pretty abundant. Now, where do you find hyaline cartilage? Obviously the ribs and that little elasticy area around our ribs. There's elastic cartilage. Of course, that would be our ear again. That's foldable. You can fold over your ear if you needed to, but that's all cartilage. And the last is fiber cartilage. Now, the discs in between our vertebrae is a type of fiber cartilage, very strong. What was that guy all about? He had no muscles whatsoever. So we're going to talk about muscle tissue. Now, muscle tissue, again, 3 types. You see a little theme going here, 3 types. Skeletal muscle tissue is a type that we usually think of because that's the most obvious and the one on the surface. But again, cardiac muscle tissue is a different kind of tissue, similar to skeletal muscle in a lot of details, but very different. Smooth muscle, the final type. This is the type that we usually find surrounding a lot of our blood vessels, a lot of our GI tract. It kind of helps move things within our body from one area to another area. Okay, nervous tissue. 2 types, neurons and the neuroglia. Now, of course, the neurons are, of course, our nerve cells, and the neuroglia are the type of cells that help support those. So, here is your question. Predict the constituent composition of an organ based upon its function. So we'll go ahead and write out the question right here for you. But here is your task. You need to take this information, determine what type of structure, what kind of tissues are involved in this. Here's the organ, here's what it does, here are the functions.